Good morning. Welcome to Punchline Africa Television again. This is exactly 3 minutes past 10:30. We had wanted to start at exactly 10:30 for this show, and we take about 30 to 45 minutes. I'll take the first 15 minutes or 10 minutes to 15 minutes to explain the reason as to why the editor's memo finds this topic very interesting. Thank you. I will just do a simple takeaway in the medium with the notes. If you have, they should have been sent to you. You have them, requested them while I'm on. Thank you very much. Viewers, this is a very important topic. I'm Dr. David Matsanga for Punchline Africa, co-hosting this show together with Miriam Ogutu. My panel is composed of Tawish, in-house analyst, special department for special assignments, and the legacy trained Sharon, who is on standby to challenge us on a number of things. Countries across the globe have what we call lobby groups. Part of the problems that kills Africa is the lack of lobby groups. Africa does not invest in lobby. Most African countries don't invest in lobby, but they invest in cheap public relations stances. These cheap public relations stances, both locally and externally, create a lot of difficulties that countries end up paying huge amounts of money to foreign companies that later on take them to court, to international arbitration centers, and to international courts of arbitration. For a country to have a founded, well-organized foreign policy, a country must have lobby groups. Lobby groups in developed democracies work as an engine of what we could call in Africa public participation. Whereas public participation in Africa is regarded that you get views from the citizens of any particular country. Lobby group specifies, does, targets, and singles out its target, the person they want to lobby and what item they want to lobby on. Take, for example, the construction of dams in Kenya. There should have been a lobby group. In this lobby group, there is always what we call risk assessment officials, risk assessment experts. When you are lobbying for on a subject, like the maritime dispute of Somalia and Kenya, you need experts who will be telling you what is wrong, what is right, what are the risks. Kenya, therefore, needs lobby groups, both locally and internationally, not public relations organizations, because public relations tend to solve the problem, to change your image, but they don't lobby the core of the difficulties that a country faces. Most African countries, therefore, suffer. They don't know the difference between public relations companies and lobby groups. Lobby, like advocacy. Advocacy is for the general good. Lobby is for the particular interests of what a country would like to have. For example, as I gave you the question of dams, before Kenya could come and deposit huge amounts of money to an Italian farm that has no zero capability to build even a river dam, and you want it to build an ocean dam that has no capacity in managing its resources, there should have been a lobby group. If Kenya had a lobby group outside in the United States, United Kingdom, forget about the PR companies that people pay to say you want our image washed on CNN. Lobby groups are key to making sure that your participation, your particular item that you want, the question of building dams, is that company building dams elsewhere? Is that company capable of executing the mandate we are going to give them? Lobby always goes with due diligence. Lobby, you can't start lobbying without knowing whom you are lobbying. You could be lobbying to a conman. You could be lobbying for conmen. But you must study your client. And that is why I brought this subject today. Kenya needs lobby groups. Kenya needs both internal and external petitioning groups. Groups that can petition on a common good. Here in Kenya, we have each petitioner moving in court. But have we created petition groups, like the groups that we can petition? Is there a department in any of these government agencies that receives people's petitions? Each time you go to any of the offices, there is a box. I don't know whether the panel will tell me. Complaints box. But are there compliments box? Are there compliment boxes in Kenya? Do we have compliment boxes dotted in our ministries? A good job done by the minister. Why do we put boxes in offices for complaints as if we are here to solve complaints everywhere in planet Earth? I therefore submit that Kenya should change its tactics, both externally and internally, of lobbying and the petitioning. I don't think the Parliament of Kenya has a full office of petitions, but you only receive complaints instead of petition. There's a difference between a complaint and a petition. A petition seeks to even give solutions when it is discussed later. I give an example of myself. I sat down and I saw very many people, very many African countries that were going to United Kingdom. Almost every African country had been cut off, put on a red list. All of them, except one or two that were not on a red list. But I looked at this, I said, hello? If I don't fight for my continent, who is going to fight for my continent? I, together with other friends of mine, I want to thank all of them, James, both Jameses and Paul Clark and others. We sat down and put up a petition to petition the House of Commons of Parliament, to put our petition in Parliament as a matter of urgency for the British Parliament to find out whether it is really necessary to block every African from entering Britain, given that the disease is not carried only by Africans or from African airlines. I want to proudly tell you this morning that our lobby and our petition was very successful. I received a letter this morning, or last night, it came this morning at about 4, dispatched by the House of Commons Speaker's Department of Petitions, saying, thank you very much. your petition reached a threshold, passed a threshold. It passed a threshold that we got 135,000 people, which is the mandatory, the number of people needed for a petition to be discussed in Parliament is 100,000. But we passed that mark, and we got 135,000 people signatures that ended up delivering us a discussion, a topic brought by the government, and the government directed that all the 54 countries in Africa can fly in and go by the regulations that are laid down without paying the money to the people, without you depositing the cash that was needed to deposit before you go to Britain. That is the essence of lobby and the petition. We should always look at the political legal bypass of resolving a problem that besieges us as people in Africa. I take a case study here. Yesterday in the morning, I was addressing people on CAS TV about the director of DCI having to petition to find a legal bypass, a political legal. You cannot fight the court. You cannot fight a judge who is already determined, who has a personal grudge maybe, who does not understand the laws of a country, without using a lobby or a petition or petition groups. Lobby and the petition groups, and let the government officials listen to me, are very paramount to a success of any attack that can come on the government. Let's not use public relations companies to mean lobby and the petition groups. I submit. Back to you, Miriam.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Doc. I think you've laid a good ground for this conversation. Yes, and sometimes I think lobbying, and it's very effective, especially when it comes to issues that are important. And so I'll just go to Sharon Gitonga this morning from what Doc has put forth. I don't know, what did you get from what Dr. has said?
Thank you very much, Miriam, and of course, Dr. Matanga, for your sentiments. And from what I got is that, lobby groups actually work in a devolved democracy to ensure there's, what we call public participation. And he also highlighted that in most African countries, there's also a deficit of, a misunderstanding of, the difference between public relations stance and what, lobby groups. And the lobby groups are keen to ensure that the companies, different companies or different sectors actually execute different mandates. And also he talked about the need for Kenya and maybe even other African countries to look into having, both internal and external petition groups. And there's also an issue that he was talking about, the lodging of complaints and not compliment boxes. And I was trying to look at something that Kivutha Kibwana actually does in Makueni. I don't know if that is something that serves as a, because it actually ensures public participation. So when you talk about lobby, in that case, I have seen him talk about any time when, a road is complete or even before he actually launches a road, he calls out for, public participation or different citizenries, to introspect the road before he actually signs it off, So I don't know, maybe that could also be one step into a right direction. And if it is, then maybe other parastatals and institutions could actually borrow a leaf. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Samuel Tawish.
Very well. Thank you so much, Miriam, and thank you, colleague panelist Sharon Gitonga, as well as Dr. David Matsanga. And indeed, Miriam, I can't agree more with what my colleague panelists have indeed submitted as far as this topic is concerned. And I believe lobbying is one of the widely used tool, even in the developed democracies, in developed world. And that is why you see when Dr. Masanga speaks about lobbying as part of a political or a legal bypass, it has really borne fruits in the past. And I think it is something that we must quite embrace. If I may just take an example of, for example, the ICC cases that we had here in Kenya, back, of course, owing to the 2007-2008 post-poll chaos. If it were not for the lobbying and the individuals like Dr. Masanga and others really to carry out a very serious and elaborate lobbying, we could as well have seen President Uhuru Kenyatta, Deputy President, and others probably at the dock as we speak now. But because of that very serious lobbying and an immaculate lobbying coming from the likes of Dr. Masanga, we were able really to fight off these cases, and at least we can say it was a sigh of relief because after all, President Uhuru Kenyatta's case was dropped by ICC. And I think this should have been the norm. This is something that we must quite embrace. Look into the ICJ case, for example, that was taken to the Netherlands, the case about Kenya-Somalia maritime dispute. I mean, we should, had we embraced, say, lobbying in the first place, we could have not seen ourselves even going up to the ICJ because this matter would have been solved here locally. But because Kenya did not embrace lobbying at the primary stage of this matter, that's why we ended up actually being at the ICJ. We could have listened to the advice of the experts, the etymologists in this particular aspect, in the likes of Dr. Masanga, who are advising that probably we needed more of lobbying, more of talking to the rest of the region and the African continent to see how this matter would have been solved amicably right here at home. Much as Kenya decided to withdraw, of course, from the proceedings in that particular matter, but you can quite see that there was a ruling that was made by ICJ, and to some extent, there's contestation as to what approach Kenya has taken in as far as, of course, rejecting the outcome or the verdict by the ICJ. So in itself, these are tools that are being used, of course, globally, especially by mature democracies, that you need to do lobbying and proper lobbying for that matter, for you to be able to win some of these matters. Look into the case of course, George Kinoti, the DCI director. I mean, it was just the other day Dr. Masanga was speaking to us about this, and I think he has gotten a very nice reprieve. Between now and April 1st, he'll be able to of course, to put his things in order and see how he's going to approach this matter. I'm sure by that time, he'll be able now to go back to the drawing board and come back with a very serious legal rebuttal in as far as this matter is concerned. So I agree that indeed the lobbying is that very perfect tool that can be used through this political bypass and, of course, legal bypass to achieve, of course, that goal or an objective as far as it's not detrimental or is not injurious to any party. So I think it is something that we must quite embrace, and I agree with Dr. David Masanga's submission, and equally so, my sister Sharon Gitonga. I submit, Miriam.
All right, thank you so much. Doc, back to you.
There's Wesonga, Daniel Wesonga.
Yes, yes. A very good morning, Dr. Matsanga. Good morning, Miriam Mogutu in Nairobi, my good brother Tarisho Lestasina, and my fellow panelist Sharon Gitonga. Perhaps, Miriam, if you could repeat the question so that I get what is the discussion is all about.
All right, Wesoka, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Well, Doc had already gave the submission. This is the editor's memo. So Doc gave the initial submissions on lobbying and the importance of lobbying, especially when it comes to some other matters of public interest. Sometimes it's easier when you lobby around so that you're able to garner the support that you need and to, file the petition. And he's given several examples. And so that is where we are basing our conversation on this morning. So that is where we are.
Okay, thank you so much, Miriam. And of course, I've been always of the idea that when it comes to matters that affect this country, and especially not internal matters, but matters that affect our country in relation to a neighboring country or the international partners, then we need a very well formulated lobby group that will always play on the sidelines to actually impart pressure on issues that are of our self-interest. And you realize that when we had the issue of the maritime border between Kenya and Somalia, the reason why we failed is because we failed to get people who could actually go to the ICJ and in the international community to be able to lobby and be able to drive perception of the situation as it is on the ground. And you realize if we allow maybe even Somalia to proceed the way they were proceeding and feeding other international partners with misinformation, then it puts us as a country in a position of a disadvantage. And that is what perhaps Somalia had against the advantage Somalia had against us. You realize that Somalia on its part, it had lobbyists in Europe who are Somali nationalists who went to actually plead their case on the sidelines. But you realize that in Kenya we had some few people who took this matter and the efficiency was not quite convincing enough even to the international committee. And I remember Dr. Matsanga said here, and he said it in quite a casual way, that some of these matter we need to have activists who will go and make noise about it. And when you talk about noise, you realize that the ICC cases will not have collapsed if it were not the noise that Dr. Matsanga and other Pan-African activists went to make in the ICC. Because if you just leave sometimes the international law to take its course, then we are more bound to actually come out of such courts such as ICC and ICJ with a wrong verdict, because maybe our competitors or maybe the other country that we are having quite an acrimony with is able to drive a very false agenda and be able to run with it. So before you catch up with them, you realize that already a very, very false perception has been created, and that is what is going to be based on by these courts to make their verdict. So to me, I think sometimes as a country we fail in matters of having these lobby groups to be able to propel our own agenda. And that is why sometimes the Ministry of Foreign Affairs fail in so many such cases. So without lobbying, perhaps I believe we are like a team which is playing with only one side of it. It's not playing as a full team, because we need, as government officials maybe doing their thing, going on with the talks and maybe pushing the agenda, we need also activists, people who have the experience in such matters to be working side by side with them, to be able to give these conversations some energy and some imp that will be able to actually propel it and get it into a level where truth and information is not quite distorted before these kind of organizations. I submit.
Very well said there. Thank you so much, Daniel Wasonga. Dr. Now back to you.
Thank you very much, Miriam. Thank you very much, all of you. We can't say more than what is needed. Lobby is essential. Petitioning in institutions is very essential. Petition departments, desks must always be there. We should avoid the complaints box only. Don't you think there's something strange in this country or in most African countries? You go to an office and you find at the office, as you sit in the reception, you see a big box, complaints. But we have not seen compliments. How does this office look like? I don't know whether Miriam and the rest of the panel, all of you, have ever seen a box for compliments. You have ever seen a box for compliments? Where? In places I've gone, I've never.
I have seen actually a few where they say for any compliments or complaints, so they have to, so you can drop them both there.
Okay, but it might have changed recently. But for previously, in the 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s, earlier 200 is only complaints. Box complaint, Becca. And the people used to write. Why have people now run away from complaint boxes? You don't find them anymore. Because people write bad letters. Come and heap in there. He said that worker, your worker there is always stealing some desks or steals some books, goes with them home. People victimize others. But all in all, I want to say thank you very much. The petitioning lobby is very necessary. For Kenya to enhance its foreign policy, it needs to lobby. It needs to petition. It needs to learn how to do many things. I've said it in my takeaway, which can be circulated to everybody. Yesterday in the morning on CAS TV, my suggestions and my stand on Kinoti's case was very clear, Mulia. And I'm happy that by 2:30 yesterday, Mr. Kinoti was already, the judges, some of them must have listened to some of the things I was saying. You don't need to live in planet Mars. The laws of Kenya is when Kinoti arrests you with stolen dresses. Okay, let me use, because you cannot steal a dress. Let's use stolen shirts of Wesonga. Kinoti does not keep those shirts. There is a department that keeps those shirts. It is called government stores. And there is a senior officer with bodyguard being rolled on these functions, big functions like a Mashujaa Day. You see them coming out on the big cars, the V8s is in charge of government stores. That's the man who keeps the firearms, the cocaine, the money, that money that was caught from banks, which was forged, the dollars, the number plates, the what. It is not the DCI who comes on the door and knocks to arrest you. Then why do you follow one man and go and arrest him? And tell him to go and sit himself in a committee, report. Even the judge did not even say, come to my office and we talk. He didn't listen to Mr. Kinoti. He said report at the committee, as if he had arranged with the commissioner of prisons that as soon as you see him commit, Mr. Kinoti, get him. So this type of things are the things. That's why I brought the subject. Lobby and a petition is the only political legal bypass, political stroke legal bypass to solving some of the problems that Kenya have. I submit, and I want to take this opportunity to thank you so much that tonight at 7 p.m. East African Standard Time up to 9 o'clock. And I would request Miriam for the first time, if you have time to attend for a few minutes and maybe moderate, because I would like to speak more with PLO Lumumba. We shall have a discussion tonight on Mathanga Africa perspective. Is Nigeria falling apart? Many of you must have seen a video which Boko Haram man is beating a man whom he has tied behind the hands and the legs. Serious beating. So is Nigeria falling apart? If you have, not if you have time, but let's generate a debate. PLO Lumumba has decided to come to give a view at 7 o'clock. I'm available. Thank you very much, Sharon. Thank you very much, Samuel. Thank you very much, Daniel. And thank you very much, Miriam. Keep very far from this flu. Even tighten the windows. No fresh air should come from outside, and don't suffocate.
I only have trees from outside, and the neighbors are on the other side, so I'm safe.
Thank you very much, Miriam. God bless you. And God bless all of you. And that's the much we have done for this country this morning. We have done our best. And we are not thieves. We are not spreading any COVID like Ruto and a group running everywhere. He's even staying there. I was, something that touched me was Nelson Harvey. He was standing like a bodyguard now. So, thank you very much. God bless you.